Hello, welcome back to the reading of the poem of the Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 4, Chapter 426, Part 1, Parable of the Vineyard and of Free Will, 4th May 1946. Peace to you, my friends. The Lord is good. He grants us to meet for a brotherly meal. Where were you going? Jesus asks the ex-shepherds while making his way into a thicket to protect himself from the sun. Some towards the sea, some towards the mountains. We came here together, growing in numbers all the time, as other groups joined us along the road, says Daniel, formerly a shepherd in Lebanon. Yes, and the two of us would like to go as far as Great Hermon to nourish our hearts where we pastured our flocks, says his companion Benjamin. It is a good idea. I will go to Nazareth for some time. Later I will be at Capernaum and Bethsaida until the new moon of Elul. I am telling you so that you may find me in case of need. Sit down and let us pull together our victuals to share them according to justice. They do so, spreading their wealth on a piece of cloth. Cakes, cheese, salt fish, olives, some eggs, the first apples, and they share out the food as cheerfully as they had laid it down, after Jesus has offered and blessed it. How pleased they are with the unhoped-for feast of love. They forget tiredness and heat, lost as they are in the joy of listening to Jesus, who inquires about what they have done, gives them advice, or tells them what he has done. And although the very warm hour of a sultry day would make one drowsy, they are so interested that no one yields to sleep. And when the meal is over and the few provisions left have been collected and divided into equal parts among them, they move into the thickest part of the nearest brushwood on the hill. And sitting around Jesus in the shade of the trees, they beg him to tell them a beautiful parable, which they may use as a practical rule of life and teaching. Jesus, who is sat facing the plain of Esdraelon, now bare of crops, but luxuriant in vineyards and orchards, turns his eyes round, looking at the panorama as if he were looking for a subject in what he sees. He smiles. He has found it. He begins with a general question. The vineyards in this plain are beautiful, are they not? Yes, very beautiful. They are extraordinarily laden with grapes which are maturing, and they are very well kept. That is why they yield so much. They must be plants of great value, insinuates Jesus, and he concludes, as the plain is divided into estates belonging to rich Pharisees, they have cultivated it with good plants regardless of expenses. Oh, it would have been of no use to purchase the best plants if they had not been taken care of continually. I am an expert in the matter because I grow vines in all my property. But if I do not toil hard, that is, if I had not toiled hard at it, as my brothers continue to do now, believe me, Master, I would not be able to offer you at vintage time grapes like those of last year, says a strong man, about 40 years old, whom I think I have already seen, but whose name I do not remember. You are right, Cleopas. The whole secret to have good fruits is to take care of our property, say another man. Good fruits and good profits, because if the land gave only what one spends on it, it would still be a bad investment of money. The land must yield the fruit of the capital it costs us, plus a profit, enabling us to increase our wealth. Because we must consider that a father has to divide his property among his sons, and of one property, be it land or money, he has to make several parts, one for each son, to give each of them what to live on. I do not think that we are to be blamed if we increase our property for the benefit of our children, insists Cleopas. You are not, if you achieve it by honest work and in an honest manner. So you say that notwithstanding the good quality of the seedlings planted out, it is necessary to toil hard at them to have a profit? Most certainly so. Before we have the first bunches, because it takes time, because one must have patience and work as well, while the young shoots have only leaves. And later, when they begin to yield fruit and are strong, one must watch that there are no useless vine branches, harmful insects, and that parasitic grass do not impoverish the soil. And you have to ensure that the vine branches are not suffocated by the foliage of bushes and bindweed. And you have to dig round the foot of the vine, forming circles, so that dew may penetrate and water may stagnate a little longer than elsewhere, nourishing the plant. And you have to spread manure, hard work, but it is necessary, even if it is unpleasant, because grapes so sweet, so beautiful, that each bunch seems a collection of precious stones, grow exactly by sucking fetid black manure. It seems impossible, but it is so. And one has to thin out the leaves so that the sun may shine on the bunches. And when vintage is over, one has to arrange the vines, tying and pruning them, covering the roots with straw and excrement to protect them against frost. And also during winter, one has to go and see whether the wind or some robber has pulled off the stakes, and whether the weather has loosened the withes by which the branches are tied to the stakes. Oh, there is always something to be done until the vine is completely withered. And then there is still work to be done to remove it from the soil, which is to be cleaned out, taking away all the roots, so that it may be ready to receive a new plant. And do you know how one must work patiently, with a light hand and eyes wide awake, extricating the vine shoots of the dead plants entangled with those of the vines still alive? If one acted foolishly and with a heavy hand, how much damage would be caused? One must be of the trade to know that. The vines, they are like children. And before a child becomes a man, how hard one has to work to keep him sound in mind, body and mind. But I am speaking all the time, and I'm not letting you speak. You promised us a parable. Actually, you have already told it. It would be sufficient to apply your conclusion and say that souls are like vines. No, Master, you must speak. I have talked nonsense, and we cannot do the work of application by ourselves. All right. Listen. This has been a reading from the Poem of the Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 4, Chapter 426, Part 1, Parable of the Vineyard and of Free Will. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow. May God bless you, and may peace be with you.